Hello everybody and welcome to the 19th episode, season 1 of the Kcca Fc Tv show, and in this one we're going to be speaking plenty of club news, especially everything happening down at the StarTimes Stadium Lugogo. We also caught up with the fans in the fan zone segment for this week. An interesting question we asked them and very nice opinions they gave. We'll be getting to hear from them. We have an exclusive from the team physiotherapist for Kcca Fc, Mr. Ivan Sanyuka, breaking it down for us. What is the role of a sports physiotherapist in a football club or any sports entity, and also how injuries are handled at Kcca Fc. We have a story from one of our very own, a former player for Kcca Fc, now an assistant manager, still for Kcca Fc, Mr. Mole Viekwaso, and also we'll be reliving one of the football games that happened last season, and we'll be getting to know what game is this. Plenty of stuff, guys, a plethora on the show tonight. My name is Magero Moses Mwanje. Let's walk this journey together. Now to start it off with the club news, FUFA, that is the federation in charge of football in Uganda, through a letter written by the Deputy Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Kcca, on the 6th of October, came out this week and guided on the resumption of football activities. And just to give you some of the details in this one, the StarTimes Uganda Premier League will kick off on the 20th of November, which will be a Friday, 2020. The league was postponed from the 17th of October as early on communicated, but now we have a set date, that is Friday, 20th November 2020. Then the club licensing exercise has been extended to 15th October 2020 to enable the process of planning and release of fixtures by Tuesday, 20th October 2020. Still from FUFA, the player registration period is extended by 4 weeks to the 19th of October 2020. Then still an update from the Stanbic Uganda Cup 46th edition 2019-2020 season. An update from FUFA, there will be no further action of the Stanbic Uganda Cup 46th edition. FUFA, the sponsors, will soon announce the sponsorship details for this tournament. And then other leagues and competition, the club licensing and player registration will continue to conclusion. The player registration period is extended by 4 weeks to the 19th of October 2020. Then further guidance will be given on fixtures and kickoff dates. Guys, at least we very well know that football is going to resume, and you've heard that on the 20th of November, which is about a month from now, at least football will be able to resume. That is in Uganda. That is the StarTimes Uganda Premier League. Nice stuff. Still from the club news this week, all the players of Kcca Fc, plus the officials and the coaches, underwent a COVID test because it's mandatory. Remember, the government recently came out and said for football or any sport to resume, all the players have to be tested at least twice every month, and also the players have to be in camp for the entire season. At least an update from the football club. The players underwent a COVID test, and the officials for this week will be getting to know what the results were later on next week, but at least they underwent that COVID test, and there is hope that at least they will be starting to train very soon if the results come out and they are negative. Still about the club news from Kcca Fc this week, we had 3 birthdays from different players. That was Monday, 5th October, Jurua Hassan, a midfielder, celebrated his birthday. Remember, this player spent most of last season on the sick bed, but as I speak, he's doing well, he's really faring well, and we're very positive that he'll be able to get back and play the game of football. He celebrated his birthday on Monday, 5th October. The other player who celebrated his birthday this week is the midfielder, Kafumbe Joseph, former player in the Kcca Fc Soccer Academy, celebrated his birthday on Friday, 9th October, and that was Independence Day. And the final player is Kato Samuel. This one is currently in Dubai with the Uganda Cranes. He traveled for his first trip with the senior Uganda Cranes team, and his birthday was on Saturday, that is yesterday, Saturday 10th October. The club wishes him a very nice time, and we very well know that they had a nice birthday, these players. Then still about this week, the club congratulated Mr. Joshua Cheptegei, who broke a record in the 10,000 meters, posted a 26:11:00 time, and this record had stood for 15 years. posted by Mr. Bekele, the Ethiopian, about 15 years ago. But Joshua Cheptegei broke that record this week with 26 minutes, 11 seconds, and 00 microseconds. Congratulations again, Mr. Joshua Cheptegei. And finally, from still the club news at Kcca Fc, we remind you that all our merchandise is sold on the Safe Border app. You can access merchandise and buy at your convenience, faster and easier and more convenient on the Safe Border app. How you can do this? Download the Safe Border app. It will bring an interface, and after top up money on your wallet, for example, 100,000, and then you go to the food and shop section. It will bring for you restaurants and shops. Select shops, then select Kcca. It will bring a list of items available, for example, jumpers, t-shirts, or a wristband, just like the one I'm wearing, and then select the items you want, just like I did. I selected the wristband, and then you add to cart. It will show you your bill, then you pay using your Safe Border account, and then after, Safe Border will deliver items to you in your provided location around Greater Kampala area. Transport costs are paid by you, and the benefits for this are it saves you the hassle to come to Lugogo, also moving through traffic, and you sit in your living room and get everything just at the click of a button on your phone. That is the club news from Kcca Fc this week. Now for the fan zone segment this week, we asked the fans that what changes do they propose the Federation and the Uganda Premier League should take on when the 2020-2021 season resumes or starts. And we asked the fans this question and they responded, they gave their opinions, and this is what happened when we caught up with the fans. Brilliant opinions they gave, and take a look.
Amanya gange nze Goloba Tito ndi muwagizi wa Kcca mvude mu branch ye Nakawa.
Balamusiza abasebo ne banyabo. Amanya gange mpitibwa Budi Kidalime mutuze w'Empererwe. Anva mu zone yaffe ya football club Kawempe division. Nze kwogerako ku by'omupiira gwaffe ogwa Uganda. Ngeri gye gukwatibwamu ngeri gye genda otandikamu. Yes, basazeewo etandike oluvannyuma lw'omwezi gumu. Naye si kibi, tusazeewo naffe tujja kukola ki? Tujja kugendera ku mateeka ago. Bano abakoze ki? Balagidde. Neze nina ebintu bye mbadde nsaba. Nganze omuwagizi wa Kampala City Council. Nina ebintu bye mbadde nsaba. Ligi weba etandise. Nga bwe batugambye otwongeramu ba substitute abo abataano. Twasazeewo twabakoze eki? Twakkiriza bajja tuyambako olwa fitness ennaku zino eriwo. Bazanyi bamaze ebbanga tebatweyininga. Batudde wansi emyezi 9 kumpi 8 tebatweyininga. Niwe kinaaba kisobose nga basazeewo twongeramu basabo bataano. Kijja tukolera, tekijja ku kibi ku side oba yange ya Kampala City Council, naye ttiimu zonna zijja kukola ki? Zijja kuyambibwa olwa ssaabu ez'ettaano.
Kulange ndaba kirungi wekibanga kizzeewo mu muzannyo, enkyukakyuka zijja kulwa bulungi. Bwe zibanga zizzeewo mu muzannyo kiba kiyambako kuba ng'omutendesi bw'abanga omuzannyo gugenda mu maaso akyusa abasambi okusinziira ku muzannyo nga gugenda mu maaso. Kati waliwo emipiira egimu gye tubanga tuzannya ne bakyusa abasubstitute ne baggwayo basatu. Nobeera nga tukyalina wakuyingiza ate nga ku katebe kuliko omuntu eyandiyingidde n'asobola okukyusa omuzannyo. Waliwo emipiira egimu gye twazannya kati nga sizoni ewedde nga tuli ekitende nga tuzannya Vipers. Omupiira gwali mulungi nnyo, gwaggwera mu maliri, naye nga abasambi abamu be twali tulina ku katebe nga baali basobola okuyingizibwa, abasatu baali baweddeyo.
Kino ekintu kye mbadde nsaba. Gavumenti, National Council of Sports ne FUFA baalivuddeyo ne bakwasiza wamu ku kintu ng'ekyo kubanga kiraabu nyingi ezitalina busobozi ng'obwo. Nga kiraabu tojja kulumba abaani olw'obusobozi olwa ssente ezikola ki? Ezigenda okuggyibwa ku basambi ng'abo okumukebera. Ekyo tukisaba gavumenti, National Council of Sports ne FUFA, ekyo bakitukwasizeeko ekintu ng'ekyo. Ttiimu nnyingi zitalina busobozi. Kubanga luli tubadde tusamba nga ttiimu abawagizi babeeramu mu kisaawe ne bayingira ne balaba omupiira, ttiimu neefuna ki? Neefuna akasente k'oku mulyango, omuzannyi n'afuna ezimuzeewo naye kati jjukira temugenda kubeeranga mu bawagizi mu kisaawe. N'ekintu ekyo bwe banaaba bakitegekedde gavumenti n'ekituyamba kijja tuyamba ne National Council of Sports ne FUFA.
Gavumenti byataddewo ng'abasambi balina okukeberebwa obulwadde obwa covid buli luvannyuma lwa weeks 2 kirungi nnyo naye ku byenfuna mu klaabu zaffe ne klaabu endala zonna eziri mu liigi ffe nga Kcca tuyinza obba nga tukisobola naye nga klaabu endala ng'omugugu guba mungi mu byensimbi kuba klaabu zibadde nga zibeerawo ezisinga ku gate collection ng'ezo sente ze basolooza ku mulyango nga ze babeera batunuulidde then ne sponsorship klaabu nnyingi mu liigi nga teziyina bantu bazivujjirira ng'ovudde ku sponsor omunene owa liigi owa Star Times n'abalala be tulina ffe nga klaabu ya Kcca n'ekitongole so klaabu endala zo zijja bba nga zijja funa omugugu ogwo okukeberebwa kuba abasambi mu buli klaabu basambi nga 3 nga babakebera buli luvannyuma lwa weeks 2 nga mu byensimbi kijja bbeera kinene gye bali
n'ekintu kyemadde nsaba kino ekya buleeka okuwummulamu okugenda okunywa ku tuzzi ekintu ng'ekyo ye kirungi nnyo kijja tukolera naye mu ddakiika ndowooza zibeere eddakiika ng'oba 3 oba 25 kubanga omuzannyi aba ayabise jjukira atweyiniza akaseera katini nnyo kati awo aba asobodde okuwummulamu n'agenda afune ku tuzzi anyweko kiba kimuyamba naye tojja mulinda amaleko ddakiika 45 agenda akole ki awummule ekintu ng'ekyo kijja kukola ki kijja tuyamba mu ddakiika nga 3-25 n'agenda n'awummulamu n'ekyo ekya ssaabu byonna bijja tuyamba ebyo byonna bisanyukidde ku sayidi yange nganze omuwagizi nganze nakisanyukidde
ekyokubeera mu kampu kirungi eri abasambi kula fitness n'okooki okubeera nga abamonitaringa kirungi kuba babeera wamu n'okukolera wamu n'okubeera nga tebeetabika mu bantu balala nga bazzeeyo ewaka okubanga kulw'okuba babeera bakeberebwa buli luvannyuma lwa weeks 2 nga babeera nga tebeetabika n'abantu balala nga ku lw'embeera y'obulamu nga kiba kirungi n'olwa fitness y'abasambi n'okuba nga kooki abamonitaringa ne coaching staff ye yonna nga basambi babeera wamu nga bamonitaringa naye nga ku ludda olw'ensimbi guba mugugu munene oguli eri klaabu n'ezi klaabu endala zonna eziri mu liigi yendowooza yange ku nkyukakyuka zensuubira okubeerawo mu liigi
naye n'ebintu ebirala bye mbadde nsaba bino kati ng'ebyo omupiira ng'ogwo oba gubadde gwa nkuba ng'eyo oba gwa lukalu ng'olwo kale ebiffe twakimanyiira ku liigi yaffe eya Uganda oba omupiira gwa nkuba oba si gwa nkuba gwo gulina okukola ki okusambibwa kubanga tulina abasajja bali abazungu balina ebintu bye batusinga bo basobodde mu bbanga ettono ennyo ennyo batudde emyezi 3 liigi yaabwe n'eddamu ne basaabu baabwe bali ki baabongeramu 5 ekyo kiyo kibakolera naffe kyensaba kikole ki kibeere nga kitukolera ku sayidi yaffe ngaafe abawagizi b'omupiira.
Well, guys, you've heard it from the fans. The fans say that at least clubs should be allowed to have 5 substitutes when the game resumes, and also there should be water breaks at least every after 20 minutes. Those are the opinions from the fans. We'll be having the fans more and more in this segment, and they'll be giving their opinions because this is their segment. We're going to be going into a break, and when we return, we have an exclusive from the sports physiotherapist, that is Mr. Ivan Sewanyana at Kcca Fc, telling us what is the role of a team physiotherapist and how injuries are handled at Kcca Fc. So we'll be going to a break, but before that, we have the 90 seconds from Sadat Anaku.
Favorite number?
10.
Favorite letter of the alphabet?
A.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite designer?
Nike.
Role model?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Favorite car?
Mercedes Benz.
Dream destination?
Europe.
Favorite music?
Slow songs.
Best musician?
Kcca.
Best footballer?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Best player you played with?
Mike Mutiaba.
Best game you have played?
Kcca vs Azam group stages Sekafa.
Worst game you have played?
Parado Kcca away CAF Confederation Cup.
Favorite food?
Rice, Irish and beans.
Jeans or sweatpants?
Jeans.
Small cars or big cars?
Small cars.
Moccasins or jersey shoes?
None.
Shirts or t-shirts?
T-shirts.
Sneakers or sandals?
Sneakers.
Name you give to your son?
Anaku.
Name you give your daughter.
Ria.
Place or FIFA.
FIFA.
Trip to a desert or trip to Iceland.
Iceland.
Saturday night at the bar or Saturday night with the boys.
Saturday night with the boys playing FIFA.
Now welcome back from that break, and just like we told you, we have the team physiotherapist, Mr. Ivan Sewanyana, telling us what the role of a physiotherapist is in any sports entity, in particular now, Kcca Fc, and how injuries are prevented and handled at Kcca Fc, the best in the business, the best in the region. Mr. Ivan Sewanyana, that is the team physiotherapist. This is what happened when you caught up with this guy.
I go by the names of Sewanyana Ivan. I am the team physiotherapist for Kcca Football Club. I'm also a public health officer. I've been practicing with Kcca for 5 years now, going to make 6. But I've been in sports practice for 9 years. I started my practice in 2010. First year was purely clinical practice. Then after that, I joined sports practice. I have a leaning towards football, though I have practiced in other fields, rugby, cricket, and handball, but the leaning is towards football. The role of a physiotherapist in a football club per se is one that cannot be understated. The role does not only happen on the field of play, but you realize most of the work is done outside the field of play. One of the roles is to, one, prevent injuries. How do you prevent injuries? By making sure the players are having the right equipment before getting on the field of play, ensuring the players are having the right nutrition, ensuring the players are having the right recovery systems in place. But even before you get to that, you have to ensure that the player is healthy. Are they fit enough? Are they medically fit to engage in footballing activities? So one of the roles is for us to perform a pre-competition medical assessment with other health professionals, where you check for the cardiovascular system of the player, you check for the general well-being of the player, their musculoskeletal, how are their muscles, how are their joints, do they have any previous injuries? If they had previous injuries, how were they managed? Are they carrying any injuries? Okay. Are they predisposed? Because from this pre-competition medical assessment, you realize that some players are actually predisposed to certain injuries. So it will help you if you sign that player and you feel there are players you can sign and work with. It helps you to plan a schedule or a training program for that player, so that whatever they are predisposed to does not actually happen. There's a thin line between the player's medical information or results not being disclosed to the club, and then those results that can be disclosed to the club. If a player has an infection, it's mandatory for us to inform the player, but the onus is not on us to inform the club, because this information is not going to help the club administrative staff or hierarchy. It can be managed between the medical team and the player. The player takes their medication. This infection is not going to hamper their play or their contribution to the team. But if a player is carrying a pre-existing condition to the joints, especially the ACL joints, if a player is carrying maybe a condition to their heart, the club will know. But the club is also trained on how to handle this information, because the club is going to ask, we want to sign player X, this is a star player, he's going to make a great contribution to the team. Then you come and tell the club, this player has failed the medical. Next question is going to be, why has he failed the medical? So if it's an injury to the joint, I will inform the club that this player probably has a torn ACL. Okay? So it's going to require a lot of funds to get this player back on the field of play. If the player has failed the cardiology exams, I will say this player has a condition to the heart that cannot permit him to get on the field of play. He's at risk of maybe sudden death or sudden cardiac arrest if he gets on the field of play. So there's information that will be disclosed to the club hierarchy, but the club hierarchy is also at discretion not to disclose this information. But confidentiality, I cannot overstate the importance of confidentiality. It's very important in our practice because how you handle the information may be different from how the media, for example, handles the information. They may go out and sensationalize this and the player is going to feel dejected. And all clubs have different parameters. He could fail a medical at Kcca Fc because our parameters are different from club Y. Then he goes and passes club Y. For example, he could come here and we see that he has torn his ACL. The club says we are not willing to take on that risk. Then he goes to club Z and they are willing to operate him, okay, and use him for their future games or whatever they want to use him for. So if you disclose that information in the media, it's going to make the player look like an outcast. Okay, clubs may not even contact him simply because of your medical findings that may not work in other club setups. Our roles don't only stop before the player gets on the field of play. When the player gets on the field of play, we have to stay on the sidelines to ensure their safety. If a player is on the field of play, they are predisposed to so many things. So many injuries happen on the field of play. We've had players, you've seen everywhere players getting sudden cardiac arrest. The onus is on us to be there and attend to this player as soon as possible. Because sudden cardiac arrest doesn't mean death. The player can be resuscitated and they get back and even continue with their career. Even if they don't continue with their career, they can continue with their lives. But if you're not on the field of play, the player will actually lose their life because there was no professional to attend to them. Then the other thing is players get injuries during the field of play. Football is a contact sport. So you find that the way you respond to the injury, in the first few seconds it happens, is going to give you the outcomes. If you respond well, if there is a professional to attend to this player and they manage them accordingly, if they were to spend maybe a month without this attendance, maybe they will spend a week or 2 weeks. So you reduce on the time lost due to the injury, okay? Then we have certain injuries where a layman will not come in and help. An example is a fracture, where everyone may come and see a broken bone and they are running away. Who's going to attend to this player? It's the medical professional. So we have to be around during training sessions, during practice matches and competitive games. Then our role also comes in after the training session. Because after the training session, you have to see how did this player react to the training. You could finish the training session and you pack your bags and leave. Next thing you're getting a phone call that player Y has collapsed in the dressing room. So you need to keep around the players even after the training. See how they are. There are those who will react to the training after sometimes it gets so hot. A player may be dehydrated, okay? But then it brings us to another role during the training sessions because you will observe and see. They are given water breaks. How are they responding to these water breaks? Why is player T not taking water? Okay? Why is player Y not coming for the water breaks? So it's important to monitor even during the training how they are responding to the water breaks. Okay? How they are training, how they are running. Okay? Remember I told you before, we ensure that the player gets on the field of play with all the safety equipment. They have the shin guards on. Okay? They have the right training gear on. Okay, the mindset is ready because a player will come to you and say, I did not sleep well last night. Okay, I cannot train today. Then you patch them up. Okay, they may say I have maybe a small strain that is damage, maybe an injury to the muscle. Then you manage them, but you find that they can train. So during the training, you're now observing and seeing this player I worked on before training. How are they running? Are they forcing it? Do I need to pull them out? So the role comes from before training, during training, and after training. Then the other important role is the meal they are going to have after training. It's important for you to supervise and see why is player T not eating. Okay? How are they eating? There are players who have a very poor appetite. You have to find out why are they not having a good appetite. what can be done to help them improve their appetite, because we know nutrition is very important for a player to perform effectively, even to avoid injuries. Yes, that is the role to the player during training. Then, during games, the role comes in the role of a team physiotherapist or any medical professional working with the team or the players. They come in before the training session. If the game is at 4, you have to be there. Lately, it has to be, if you're so late, it has to be 3 hours to the game. Why? You want to see if the player is okay, because you'll have known the lineup then. The players will come in. Those who had a poor night sleep will come and tell you, I did not have a good night sleep. Those who had maybe any illness during the night, they will let you know. Those who had previous injuries will let you know. Then there are those players who need strappings to their joints, for example, the ankles. There are players who need a quick rub. He wants you to, he wants to do some soft tissue manipulation or massage to prepare them. So you want to do that 3 hours to the game. So you want to use all that time to prepare the player. There are players who just need talking to. He will come to you and he just wants to keep your company, just to give him the confidence. So that is the role prior. Then even before that, they will have their meal, the pre-match meal. So you want to see how are they consuming, which meal did they prepare for them. Is it the right meal, like you are talked to the club chef? Is it what they are provided to the players? Who has eaten, who hasn't eaten, why haven't they eaten? You find out all those 3 hours prior to the game. Then you can make the decisions that need to be made. Sometimes you have to make quick decisions. A manager may be relying on a certain player, but the player is not in shape to play. You may patch up a player. You try to give him just a quick warm-up to see how he's reacting to the patch-up. By the patch-up, I mean like you're trying to give a quick fix. He comes in, he's complaining of something. You try to manage it and see if they are fit for the game. You test them and see they are not fit for the game. Immediately inform the manager so that he can make the tough decision or the necessary decision to either replace this player or risk him. Some managers even opt to risk the player. So whatever they decide to do, the onus is on them really. But you have to be there and inform the manager. Then, during the game, it is important to be there because the game, so many things happen. There's a lot of contact going on. A player can collapse during the game. A player wants to hydrate, so you want to ensure that they are hydrating well, they are taking the necessary fluids. Your role cannot be overstated during a game really. This is where most people see the role of a medical professional. This is where most people think a medical professional stops. That's when they see us running on the field of play to attend to players. So if an injury occurs on the field of play, you have to make the decision, a quick decision, because the game is only 90 minutes. You have less than 10 seconds to make the decision whether this player can continue to play or not. So you have to be in constant communication with the manager. So it's during this game that, or when you're on the field of play during a game, that you see how the injury has occurred. Then your response is also going to be definite. Then how you inform the technical bench or the coaches is also key. So you can just put the hands up and say substitution, he's not going to play. Immediately you take that player off, start managing whatever injury whatever injury they have sustained in the game. Also, if this player needs to be referred to the hospital, immediately get them in an ambulance and one of you goes with them to the hospital. Then one stays and attends to the team that is still continuing with the play. So that reaction is very important. Then after the game, you want to find out, because there are players who get minor knocks. Some even get major knocks and don't want to disclose them during the game. So you want to check who has gotten a minor knock, who has a minor knee goal, so that you start managing them immediately. Because usually the next game is not so far off. So you want to prepare them for the next training session or the next game. So you want to stay around and see how they are doing. Then the post-match meal. Who has been able to have the meal? Can they have a fruit? Are they hydrating well? Some will just want to talk. Maybe you have noticed something that the player did not react to during the game, so you want to talk to them and see that they don't ignore it or ensure that it's all well with them. The spirit of the game, the spirit of football. when I get on the field of play, okay, my attention is to my team, but my attention is also to the other team, because one of our roles is to ensure player safety. When we say player safety, we don't mean only our players, but we mean all the players who are engaged in the game that is taking place. If I see a player from the opposing team, if I see a player injured from the opposing team, the onus is on me. My training says I should save lives. It did not define that I should save Kcca Fc players' lives. No, I should save lives. It could be even a coach. It could be a spectator, okay? My roles are actually defined to be around the field of play. But if a spectator gets an emergency and there is no medical professional to attend to them, especially in our setup, ideally we would have medical professionals in stands in case a fan gets any medical emergency. But if there is no one, the game, because if there is a stampede, if someone gets a medical emergency, there will be a stampede. Chances are high the game will be stopped. So the onus is on me to attend to this player. So you've seen, we've had several games where teams come in and they don't have medical professionals. Or teams come in and they have medical professionals who are not trained to handle certain emergencies. Or teams still come in with the medical professionals, but there is a situation that requires help of all medical professionals on the field of play. So I feel it's not something that needs to be highlighted so much of us going on to help players from other teams. I feel it's my responsibility to go on and help anyone who is engaged in this beautiful game of football. Player education can be related to general health information. Let me say we are in the COVID times now. There is information out there about hand washing, about wearing of the mask and all. It's the same thing that can be applied in football. It's important for the player to know how they can get injured, okay? What can they do? What is their role in managing this injury? It's important for the player to know how to take care of themselves when they are away from the field of play. It's important for the player to know what they are supposed to eat. It's important for the player to know basic first aid skills, okay? Because you never know when they need to apply them. You could get onto the field of play and it's only you attending to the team and you have to call another player to come and assist. It could be that critical, okay? So if a player has some knowledge, they will not run away and leave you to manage this condition alone. You can always seek their help. And even when they get injured, it's easier for you to give them instructions of what they know prior. You tell them when you go home, ice this injury periodically. When you go home, elevate this. But if they have had it before from the education you give them, it's going to be very easy for them to implement this. It's important for players to know how they travel. We have players who jump on borders and they are putting on open shoes. Okay? If anything happens, their feet are going to get scrubs or they are going to get bruises. And this bruise is going to keep them out for a very long period of time. So if it's inevitable and they have to jump on this bike, one, they need to avoid it. They need to avoid the bike. But if they have no option and they have to jump on the bike, it's important for them to have closed shoes. All this information, you pass it on during the health talks we have with the players. So the health education, I think, is a very, very key role of the health professionals working with teams. And it's one of the things that we do here at Kcca Fc. And if you meet a Kcca Fc player, they are quite different from other players because they are well versed with some of these basics.
Now welcome back from that break. Now earlier on we told you we have a story from one of our very own, a former player at Kcca Fc, now an assistant manager at Kcca Fc, giving his football story. You have something to learn from him, especially footballer out there watching this show. We know very many of you watch this show, regardless whether Kcca Fc player or none. Learn from this guy. This is what happened when you caught up with him in an exclusive.
I'm by the names of Molebio Kwaso, Age Moses, a son to John Ochama and Margaret Najuka. I was raised and born in Luzira, where I even studied. I started my career there as a student in primary. I played all primary levels. Later I went into the secondary school because I sat my P7 in 91. 92 I was in senior 1, Stay High, where I started playing secondary football. I played against Coroleses, and we won Coroleses 3-2. By then Coroleses was a superpower in school football. So we managed to win them, and the following year, 4 of us were picked from City High School to Coroleses. That was me, Ronnie Kasigazi, Kabusu, and Patrick Intege, now who works with the Federation. From there, KCC spotted me because by then KCC had a poor season of 92, so they had to ask all the players, and they wanted fresh blood. So I was one of the new players who joined KCC. I was brought in KCC by my godfather, my primary coach, Patrick Kabuye, who nurtured me in the way I feel was the right way. So he brought me to KCC. He told me that trials are not easy. Go try to do your best, but don't fear. Whatever will come, you're still a young boy. You will get another chance in the future. So I came. I came with Coach Mbowa, John Mandwara. There was another player called Chele. He was coming from Katwe. So we are about like 100 players who wanted to get a chance to play for KCC. But God is great. 4 of us managed to go through. We were spotted and picked by the Honorable by then of Minister of Local Government, which was Mr. Jaberi Dandisari, who said he's going to take the responsibility of paying for us school fees, me and Mbowa and Chere, because Mandwara wasn't a student. So from 92 up to 2000, I was a KCC player, and I managed to work so hard. In 95, I was given a chance by Under 17, which was held in Mombasa, but I wasn't starting. I was on bench. Patrick Imbazira from UEB was the one playing my position, but I was learning more from him. I got a chance when we were eliminated in semi-final, the semi-finals. We were eliminated by Kenya. Kenya beat us 2-1. So we had to play the losers match because we wanted to be third in our so that we can take that award. So I got only 20 minutes in that tournament. The last 20 minutes of the game, that's when Coach Asmani Lubowa gave me, and I expressed myself. God willing, when I stepped onto the pitch, I scored my first goal, which really motivated my life from then. And from then I got all the chances in my career.
Well, guys, you've heard his story. That is a former player at Kcca Fc and now an assistant manager still at Kcca Fc, Mr. Molebe Kwaso, giving his football story that is larger than life. We've just given you a sneak peek of that, and we'll be having more of the former players, former officials, former coaches at Kcca Fc giving their story. Something for the footballers out there to learn from. How did these guys do it then? In very, very bad circumstances, I should say, but handled and have made it this far. What can you learn from them? And remember, we told you we'll be reliving one of the football games that happened last season. That is the Kcca Fc vs Vipers game. And at the time Kcca Fc played Vipers at the StarTimes Stadium Lugogo, Vipers hadn't lost a game in the league at the time, and they were unbeaten. Kcca Fc had lost a game in the league, but came out on top of this one. And to start with, Kcca Fc did not have their captain in this one, Charles Lukwago, and the nice game, that is Mr. Alan Okello, who was away for national duty with the Uganda Cranes. But in the 9th minute when the game started, Muzamiru's free kick was coolly collected.
Naye akaliro tekaweze Fabian Mutombola naberanga comfortably omupira agujjewo.
In the 10th minute, Kezron dribbled and passed to Kiza, whose cross almost counted as a goal, but then rattled the woodwork. The ball fell to Erisa Sekisambu, whose rebound was blocked for a corner kick.
Vipers erula Mustafa Kiza simanyo babadde akigenderedde okubeera nga alengera
naye ojjukira nti ye refari asooka okubeera ng'agabira coach red card mpira gwa Toro United waswa bossa guno nga bakuba nga Vipers wangulemu ku 0 yoye yagulemu era yawa red card omuvubuka Faruka era balonda Mike Mutanga Sanyuka abalabi
ate ndo katwabale abadde batadde pass wano pass yangeri ya free kick naye somehow
Erisa Sekisambu, who had a field day that day, left his marker for dead down the right wing, beat another man and crossed in the box, only for Jackson Nunda to head straight in the goalkeeper's hands.
Erisa Sekisambu akajjako babiri atadde wano mu wali sente naye Jackson Nunda mukete guweze goalkeeper naberanga bwati akujjewo.
Now at the half-hour mark, Sekisambu again down the right flank beat his man and laid a very beautiful ball in the box. Philberto Benchan, who was playing right back on the day, damaged, and Muzamiri Motiaba coolly finished to send wild celebrations at the StarTimes Stadium Lugogo. 1-0 Kcca Fc.
Eventually, Kcca FC bagudewo account yaabwe mu dakiika zina 31 oluvannyuma lwa very good control okuva wa OB owa tiimu eno ya Vipers. Erisa Sekisambu paasi ebadde empanvu nnyo nga kirowoozeka ayinza okubeera nga tagisanga ku ludda luli, n'asalako omuntu n'ateekawo paasi wano n'abeera nga bw'atyo Muzamiru Mutyaba ateekwa okubeera nga yamaliriza mu katimba kano nga yadde goal ebadde mu deflection naye nga bwe kityo signs zibaddewo mu Kcca FC Vipers 0 mu dakiika wano 31.
ebadde build up mpitirivu nnyo okuva mu ttiimu ya nafa aba Kcca. Mike Kigozi alina engeri gy'atera okwogeramu nti no babadde bakonkona era ndowooza Sikaali abadde alina waagenze n'alwawo okubeera nga aggulawo era eventually basobodde okubeera nga baggulawo Mutyaba Muzamiru ne ggoolo ye esookedde ddala eya season mu StarTimes Uganda Premier League akubye shoti badde mpitirivu nnyo naye look at the decision omuvubuka gy'akoze amanyiddwa nga Erisa Sekisambu asaza Aziz Kayondo eri ku far left n'ajja abaddewo ani awe abadde approaching Philberto Benchan.
The game went into half-time with Kcca Fc leading 1-0, and when the second half resumed, in the 65th minute, Maliamungu blocked a well-planned move by the Visitors, and he was equal to the task that day.
Ompira baguleswa no muntabwe kwatyo ani ono nkubi alana Kalumba akubye ompira gugenzi bweru.
Captain Brian Nkubi jokera basembe kwanga basinkana wano season yewedde. Brian Nkubi yomu ku baateba omuvubuka oyo yava mu ttiimu ya Kira Young Iranga amanyi ba celebrating a goal season eno.
In the 85th minute, a very good ball from the midfield was played to Sekisambu, but his effort was blocked by the Vipers custodian, Steven Serada, who came on as a substitute, attempted to rebound, but the ball was saved by Fabian.
Bajja kutta abawagizi ba Vipers bano. Omupiira goalkeeper Mutombola n'abeera ng'aguggyewo n'asigala n'embulumi.
Ate kati omugagga wa Vipers pressure gy'aliko ya bibuuzo. Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa teyeetaaga nnyo pressure ndala kubeera nga
oyinza oddugwamu
nga bamukuba 2-2.
Oyinza oddugwamu awo yenna avunaanyizibwa.
Sajja ttiimu eno ya Vipers empiira 5 bwe tujjidde mu mupiira guno, empiira 5 egisembyeyo nga bakozemu maliri gokka, babadde tebannaba kubeera nga bakubwamu omupiira ate ng'empiira 5 ezibadde.
In the 87th minute, Alan Kayiwa, who came on as a substitute for the Beasters, dribbled, picked his mark, cut in and shot, but Maria Mungu parried his ball wide in what you could call a game-deciding moment for Kcca Fc.
Musambi Alan Thierry Kayiwa eganye etya. Oh my God.
Alabika nga omutendesi amulaze nti obaolyawo tali rasite yakwata ekikopo ekya Super 8 Vipers n'emukwa goals 2 namba abadde tannakuuma clean sheet. Katulabe oba mu zino eddakiika 2 ezinamba ezibulayo mu mipiira 3 gyakutte season eno egyali ku makya.
In the 89th minute, Sekisambu and Serada teamed up and exchanged the ball. Serada dribbled past his markers and passed to Sekisambu, but his shot flew up and above the crossbar.
Oh my God! Bakubye omupiira irise Sekisambu abadde ayagala bamaliriza. Jjukira baategesa akabaga bano aba Kcca FC. Mukigenda kuba party after party, money after money.
Nako kaliko babaawunsa n'abamaji.
Nga bagizewa bakagenda kubeera katya. Konja akabigwamu bikwe Steven Serada badajjeko abantu wano. Ono wagambye akyali mu sekendwe ng'asamba bya kikulu.
1-0 the final score after the 90 minutes. Muzamiri Mutyaba's lone goal in the 30th minute, making the difference in this tie. Kcca Fc inflicting the first defeat of the 2019-2020 season to Vipers. Such a beautiful moment last season, and you only think that when football resumes, we'll even have more and more better moments in the 2020-2021 season. And that's it for episode 19, season 1 of the Kcca Fc TV show this week. Remember, we had club news where we told you all the players and officials at Kcca Fc have undergone a COVID test. We'll be getting to know next week whether the results were positive or negative. But I know the results will be negative. I'm really optimistic. We also had the fan zone where the fans gave their opinions on what changes they want to see in the 2020-2021 season, especially when the game of football resumes in a very short time. We had an exclusive with a team physiotherapist, Mr. Ivan Sewanyana, who broke it down for us on the role of the team physiotherapist and also how injuries are managed at Kcca Fc. We had the story of one of our very own, a former player, Mr. Molivie Kwaso, and now an assistant manager at the football club, telling us his football story, something for all athletes out there to learn. And we relived one of the games for the 2019-2020 season. Kcca Fc Vipers, the game ended 1-0 in favor of Kcca Fc. A plethora of stuff on the show tonight. We're going to be leaving you with a skit from one of our very ardent fans. Very nice. I'm very sure you're really going to enjoy this. And I can tell you that episode 20 next week, there's something that we are bringing that is hot. I don't want to spoil the party. You will see for yourself next week, Sunday, 10 p.m. My name is Magero Moses Mwanje. Have a good night.
Nze Kafero Ali gumisinga okumanya nga Mabere. Mpitima Mabere olw'ensonga zino wammanga. Natandika okuwagira omupiira nga mu biseera ebyo we nagenyeranga ku kisaawe nga walinga w'abawala abadigize abadigidda nga bagamba nenga abadigidda naye bwe nagambangako nti bannange bano nga bo bazina nnyo omuwala omu nagamba sembere eri tuleke tujaganye tudigidde sikuba n'ebbeere ye simanyi gwe bakuyita naye mu mabeere ne bankazaako eri amabeere beyita mpolampola ekintu ekyo bakimpita mu 1986 wetandika okufuna erinnya eryo erya mabeere ne lijja nga likula mpolampola paka eno gye lituuse. Erinnya lya mabeere limpanguza ebirabo bingi kubanga natandika okufuna erinnya eryo ng'omu ku basajja abawagira Kcca Football Club n'omutima gwange ogwawamu. Nalondebwa okubeera omu ku bakulembeze aba music, dance and drama okusanyusa abagezi ba KCCA mu myaka gy'edda ennyo era ebiseera ebyo netandika okubeera nga paka nakati saawa eno okubeera nga nze akulira music and drama mu KCCA Football Club. Awo wennyini nawangula ebirabo bingi awaji neziwangula ez'okulukaluko Africa neze mu Uganda yennyini wanene newe njogerera wanene wennyini emidaali njirina emidaali ginawangula nagiwangula bwe giti era emidaali egyo mugenda kugiraba. Emidaali egyo omudaali ogwo gwe kennyini nze naguwangula omudaali ogwo mu 2016 ng'omuwagizi asinze okuwagira omupiira mu KCCA Football Club. Omuwali ogwo nenguwangula. Nze nalondebwa kubeera omuwagizi asinze okuwagira omupiira mu Uganda yonna ku milioni 46 eziri mu Uganda. Nze nali namba emu mu kuwagira omupiira mu Uganda yonna.